Here is the spreadsheet. I spent a long time working in finance, so secretly love a spreadsheet. I appreciate a good one. Hopefully you can appreciate this too. This is how I would track for myself. This is my personal one, how I track my competition prep diet phase and help myself keep on track, know when to make adjustments and make sure I do it as effectively as possible. And as a coach as well, this is what I'd use for any of my clients going through prep. And I have a kind of watered down version of this for anyone that's just doing a fat loss phase but not taking it all the way to the stage. And I want to talk you through the things that we just mentioned, like body fat, caliper tracking, and all the data I track, and how to visualize it and analyze it in a way that's very, very helpful. So here we go. This is the opening page. What I've got here is just a reminder of how far away my competitions are. And then this is the setup for the chart you see below. So what we've got is, we know roughly, with a new competitor you might not know, but if I know roughly what weight I need to be by the end of my prep, then I can work out what the rate of weight loss I need. So what we've done here is we've programmed a minimum rate and a maximum rate that we want to go. We don't want to go too fast, because if we go too fast, we risk losing muscle. We don't want to go too slow, because it's just a waste of time. That could have been extra time we'd spent in the build phase building a little bit more muscle. So we want to be as efficient as possible. And when we choose that upper and lower boundary, what we get here is it plotted on the graph. So you can see here, this is the slowest rate of weight loss that's very acceptable, and this is the fastest rate of weight loss that we've deemed acceptable. And so what you see now, the shaded area in the middle, is as long as you are within this shaded area in the middle, you're doing great. And this is really important because your weight's gonna fluctuate. Some weeks are gonna go much faster than others in terms of weight loss. You're gonna stall. Sometimes it's even gonna go up and you're not gonna know why. The important thing is that you're trending in the right direction. And this chart helps visualize that and avoid the mental stress that can come with like looking at the scales and the weight fluctuations. You can see here, really good first week, weight dropped off, then it shot up again. So as you can imagine, for anyone that was just looking at the scales, this would be panic stations, and they might be worried here thinking, oh God, it's not going fast enough. But if you just were able to see it visualized out on this graph, you can see, oh, actually, it's okay. Overall, I'm doing exactly what I need to get where I need to get. And I'm not sure if you can see this lighter gray line coming through here. That is a trend line. So what it's doing is taking all the data I've put in so far and saying, based on all your data so far, this is the rate you're going to continue at if you continue with this progress. So again, it just projects into the future and gives us an idea of how on track we are. So let me explain how this works. As a client or as someone going in, you fill out your daily weight data here. So every time you step on the scales, you put in your weight measurements at the appropriate day. This then calculates a weekly average for each week. Because again, weight fluctuates daily for reasons totally out of our control. So there's not really any point in paying attention to each day. Where it's important is when we're looking at larger trends. So the average weight of one week versus the average weight of the next week. So that's what we've got here. We can measure the change over time. What were you weighing compared to last week's average? And what are you weighing compared to this first week's average? So that will look at the total change over time. So that accumulates, whereas this is just looking week on week. So you put in all the daily data, and these weekly averages are what gets plotted onto the tracker. So what this is showing is comparing week 1 average versus week 2 average versus week 3 average. So it's smoothed out in a way that maximizes useful data and minimizes unnecessary noise and complication. And then onto the body fat, like we spoke about before. This is the skin fold measurements in millimeters of all the different sites. And what we've got at the end here is, this is less important actually, it's the calculation. You can see it along here, the Jackson-Pollock method, but like it's saying I'm 8% body fat right now, and there's just no way I'm 8%. Maybe I'm somewhere between 10 and 12, but 8 is very optimistic. But again, that's not actually that important, because what we can see is a trend over time in the change of millimeter thickness of skin fold size. And what I've added on here just for my own benefit is, okay, week on week, what's the overall change in millimeter thickness of all the skin fold sites? So you can see from when I started, the first week overall across all my measurements, I was 1.6 mil down, which is good. So overall, that's how much sort of thickness I'd lost across my skin. And the next week was 9 millimeters down across all the measurements. So again, I've got this week on week change, and I've got an overall change that's going to accumulate as we go through. And when you take your skin fold measurements, what I do is take 3 measurements and average the result. And then it's this average of the 3 measurements that gets put in here. Again, just to try and minimize noise and make everything as accurate as possible. Next, we've just got workout splits. I track what my current volume is and rotation through my splits, and I can tweak that if I need. And then very important here is the activity and food. So each week we're going through, we can see, okay, how many calories am I eating on a training day? What's that look like in terms of macros? How many calories am I eating on a rest day? What does that look like in terms of macros? And then how many steps am I doing each day? And how much cardio am I doing each day? And as you can see, as we've gone through, my calories have started to drop a little bit. And then as my food got to a point where I thought, I don't want to take it much lower than this right now, I'm quite happy with where it's at. What I decided to do instead increase the cardio and steps. So you've always got these two choices of, do you want to take less energy in or do you want to burn more energy? How do you want to increase the deficit? Some people will prefer doing more cardio and keeping the food higher. Some people would prefer doing less cardio and eating less. That's kind of personal preference, and it's something you discover by tracking like this, because you need to go through the process, and what I will have at the end is a full blueprint of exactly how I prepped. So say I nailed my look, I got on stage and I was really happy, I got exactly as lean as I wanted. So then next time it comes around to prep, I just look at this and I know, okay, exactly what body weight, what calories I need to eat, the ratios, the macros, how much cardio and steps I need to do, what my body fat calipers should be looking like. So I have this perfect blueprint of exactly what I need to do. And likewise, maybe I didn't quite get as lean as I needed, and I think, okay, next time I need another kilo or two to come off. Well, then I know, actually, I need to move this whole schedule forward. So 2 weeks earlier than I was this prep, that's where I need to be. So these week 5 measurements here, I need my skin folds to be that at week 3 into the prep. So again, you can use all this data to constantly improve your process over time. And again, this is quite complicated and quite a lot to track, which is why I do it for a lot of people as a coach. And if you are busy and don't want to get into this granular detail of stuff, but understand its importance, then coaching is really, really useful for you. Find a coach that will do something like this for you so that you have this data moving forward, you understand yourself, and you can improve year on year on year. So this is the competition prep spreadsheet kind of pack that we use. Like I said, there's a watered down one for fat loss, but I tend to work with either competitive or lifestyle bodybuilders, hobby builders, basically people that take it quite seriously, male and female. So if you're someone that already knows your way around a gym, but just aren't making the progress you want to, you're the perfect sort of person that would benefit loads from having a coach like me that can take you through all this detail. Explain it to you if you want, but if you just don't want to go into that headspace, I will be able to just distill it all down for you and give you the actionable steps to be able to say, okay, this is how we improve your rate of progress massively. So yeah, send me a message through YouTube or Instagram if you want to get in touch about coaching. I'd love to help and answer your questions. But yeah, this is the plan, guys. So we've got everything through here, the weight data that we can track over time using averages, not the daily weight, to avoid the head fuckery of it all, basically. And then we've got, yeah, the input data. This is where you put your weight in to generate this graph. Body fat we track over time, our workout splits and volume, and then very importantly, calories in, calories out, how much we're eating and how much we're burning over time. There is one other measurement I do, and I was thinking about adding it as a step on this spreadsheet, but I'll show you on my phone because it's all logged through my phone. This is tape measurements as well. So that's my waist measurement. You can see it going up through my bulk and starting to come down again now I'm cutting. Then you can see the same for my chest, up through my bulk, but you can see that this has dropped a lot less since I started cutting. And again, that's really useful information because I know, okay, my waist is reducing down quite a lot, but my chest and shoulders and stuff aren't reducing down as much. So that says to me, okay, that's fat coming off, not muscle. And this is where strength is another really important metric. Again, I log my workouts in an app called WOTIF, but there's plenty of apps, or you can write it down on paper or in a spreadsheet. That's a really useful metric to go alongside all the other ones we've discussed, because then you know you're not losing muscle. If you're losing weight, but your strength is staying the same with the same form, then you know it's not muscle you're losing, because if you can produce the force required to move the weight, you haven't lost muscle. So again, combining all these data points is really, really useful in minimizing guesswork, anxiety, and emotional impulsive changes to your prep that are going to sabotage you. And I'm very confident that this is the reason I can prep myself, because I can sit and look at this data objectively, imagining it's another person, and make really informed decisions based on cold data. Nothing emotional, nothing like, oh God, I don't feel like I'm going fast enough. I know exactly how fast I'm going. And I can use that data for clients as well. They might be getting worried, and I can sit them down and say, look, you don't need to worry, because look, we're right within the path we need to be in. Everything's going fine. And you need multiple data sets to be able to do this. Like, for example, one of my female clients who's competing for the first time this year, she had a similar situation with a little bit of a wobble where her weight wasn't coming down, and it was quite concerning. You can imagine just looking at the scales not going down and think, oh my God, I need to change something. But with female competitors, obviously she's got her natural hormone fluctuations, and with that comes natural water weight fluctuations. So she was coming up to her period, and that's her heaviest week in terms of water retention. So the scales weren't moving, which is setting off alarm bells, but then we can say, oh, hang on, okay, what's your body fat calipers doing? Ah, they're coming down as well. They're trending in the right direction. What are the tape measurements doing? Oh yeah, your waist and stuff is down, it's trending in the right direction. So then we can say, look, we don't need to adjust the plan. The plan is working, it's just your weight is being masked slightly by your hormone fluctuations. Without that data, you'd panic, you'd drop things lower than they needed to go, and you'd be eating through runway. So by the end of prep, you've got no room left to drop, and you're on just vegetables and it's not where you want to be. That's a good example of why it's important. No data set in isolation is particularly great. unfortunately, when it comes to tracking these things, but you can combine enough of them to get a pretty damn good picture of what's going on and interpret that to really, really, really optimize your results. But yeah, thanks guys, I hope that's useful. Send me a message if you want to get in touch about coaching. Stay tuned and I will have some more videos up soon with more useful information for you to help you through dieting phases, build phases, prep, all that kind of good stuff. Okay, speak to you in a bit.